to differentiate between greed and how much is greed and how much is your needs. And you can be extremely happy if you... I would think that the Chinese are going to bitterly regret what they're doing right now. They're doing the exact opposite to what Gandhi wanted the subcontinent of Africa, of India to do.
The passive resistance, where it's like it's not an armed struggle, but it's not doing anything, and somehow that one day is there, I don't know. In Ireland, it was something, I know in modern times the hunger strikes, but before that, was there... There
was, but now that's an interesting question.
In 1969, the movement that started was a civil rights movement, and it was built in passive resistance. That's what happened in 1969.
But before that, in the 1800s, did they have any version of that?
Oh, they certainly did, and I'll try and get through those things. But just to deal with something there on Gandhi that we were talking about, Gandhi was not a pacifist.
No.
He was not a pacifist. And many of the people that we think of as pacifists and constitutionalists were not pacifists in that sense. They understood the requirement of force. But again, Brendan Behan said that the difference between a diplomat and a terrorist is the size of his bomb. So, if you have no power and if you're at your last resort, you'll probably lash out with violence. So it is a very complicated issue, and that's why it's so fascinating to talk about tonight. And I'm not surprised that we're having these questions that because
perhaps some of the difference can be attributed to the difference in temperament of an Irishman versus an Indian.
Well, that's kind of a very dangerous topic, because now you're talking that you're sort of, we all tend to do that. And it's basically racism. The Irish are just genetically prone to drink. Not true. We have one of the lowest...
But if it turns out to be statistically true, are you then allowed to say it?
Well, yes, but you can't attribute it, though, to a race or to even... There's probably some other reason.
Irishman.
Huh?
Let's say Irishman. You don't have to even specify if it's a race or a persuasion. But you can say Irishmen are prone to drunkenness, and if it's statistically true...
You'd be very careful
can't you say it?
This
you might get a little bash in the mouth till you be saying that, no. Or a bottle over the head. But unfortunately, though, statistically it's not true. The Germans and the French actually consume more alcohol than we do.
The convenience.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying. Now you're getting into stuff that is generally used for propaganda. It's generally used for ulterior motives, ulterior purposes. And
I thought we could talk about anything.
We can, and I'm not dodging your question, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's abused. Those concepts are abused, and once you start attributing that to Jews, for instance, say, well, why didn't they fight? Are they just cowardly? You're probably being very unfair to those people. That's why I hate to see Anglos here in America being very offensive against the French. Well, the French were occupied. The English weren't. I don't know how the English would have behaved if they were actually occupied and routinely lined up against the wall and shot because somebody squawked. You can't judge a person until you've walked a mile in his shoes. So one just has to be careful, that's all. I'm not saying that there is not some truth to it, but there's usually extenuating circumstances.
But you started off by saying that you get an Irishman in a room that they always going to separate? Or
no, I didn't. I said that was the mythology.
A certain fraction will always use...
No, what I said was that there's a reason for that. This was not endemic. Yeah, no, what I was trying to explain, what I was hoping I was going to do, was say that there was a fundamental reason why that split, the potential for that split was there. And it was there because we as a people had this problem that we were occupied by a foreign power. And now right away, when we started discussing it, there was a great propensity to start saying, no, let's get around them and let's go over into their parliament and stuff. No, let's shoot the bastards. You know what I mean? Right off the bat, you have this potentiality for disagreement. And that's been the curse of the Irish. It's not that that's just inherent in the Irish character.
No, but I think that split, it exists in all similar...
Yes, it would. I agree. Absolutely. That's exactly right.
There's always, whenever there's a conflict,
correct.
There's always the possibility...
It's a situational thing rather than
a... the question of how much of it you take is what depends.
And that's what I want to talk about tonight, really, and we want to really think about that and how, if one were to live in 1798, in 1848, in 1860s, 70s, one were to live in those situations, which side would you have taken? You know, in the Civil War, right down in modern times. I lived in Ireland in the 70s when, you know, you saw all of this stuff on television every night. You're Irish, are you?
Yes.
So, pardon?
Dublin.
Well, you know, so, you know, we watched the BBC and we watched RT, and they're two totally different stories of the same incident.
So you've come to distrust television news?
Well, we tended to distrust the one from across the water, but then again...
But they both did a great job.
Oh, they did a fantastic job for their respective audiences.
So you need to be aware.
You absolutely have to be aware. And, you know, it's like the Aesop's fable, the guy going to see the elephant and catches the blind man going to see the elephant, you know. That's what they thought they saw, because that's what they saw from just where they were. So there's this
I have a question.
perspective.
I'm wondering, was the Irish struggle, you know, against the colonial power, was that the first of Britain's sort of colonies that was the first to struggle to try to be independent? I mean,
Well, yes, because it was the first one they actually occupied. It was their first colony.
what was it first colony?
And the Irish never, ever actually accepted it. So they were, yes, so they cut their teeth, if you like, on the Irish colony. And, yeah.
Was Ireland ever offered Dominion status?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
And they'd rather die than become like Canada?
No, some of them would. And again, now you have the potential for the split.
Some of them really
Yeah.
thought that would be terrible.
Yes,
That's what led, I suppose, in some
Civil
part
War.
to the Civil War.
correct. It was.
1922.
It was exactly what it was. It was exactly that. It was a matter of principle. So you see, that's really, now we're making progress, because you can see that as I said, the potential was there all the time, always hanging over a group of the closest friends, even a family. Richard.
Quick question. I didn't realize that it was actually the first colonization.
Yes.
1172.
Okay. But I didn't realize they hadn't reached out anywhere else first.
Outside Britain,
So
yes.
this is actually the first occupation. You had mentioned earlier that no one really quite understood why the English were so passionate about their desire to not let go.
If anybody can answer that,
Well,
and
it was their first colonization.
pardon?
It was their food basket.
It was for many reasons why, but at the same time,
that was the first one. You know,
Yes.
That could have been part of it also. It's
there were times
to
when
give in there would mean
there were rationales.
would be to risk losing all the others. Which they
That
did.
in later times, yes, when they became a worldwide imperial power, yes, they were very concerned that it would start the zipper, and it did actually. In fact, very much so, because during the Irish troubles, if you like, including Gandhi was an attorney in London at the time. He learned a tremendous amount from the Irish, as much what not to do as what to do. So he, in fact, and he said it many times, that because they were both very much part of the British Empire. So, but the circumstances changed. Each different era had its own different set of circumstances. But that was always there, and that's why I chose it for the topic tonight. It has run through. It's like a through line that has run through the history for, I'm not going to go back to the 1700s, but certainly from then, for the last 200 years. And very much, we could spend the entire night talking about how it actually informed the politics of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the so-called peace process, which I don't believe was a really peace process, because unfortunately I don't think that it's over. It will re-emerge again. Anyway, I want to touch if only tippy-toe through
It's
the...
late 1800s.
Yes, correct.
What happened in 1798? You keep saying that date.
There was a big revolution in Ireland
90.
in 98.
Yeah, so 1878, 79.
Right. Now, in the latter part of the 1900s, there were 4 organizations that I need to tell you about. 1800s. The Young Irelanders are over, if you like. They were dispersed. Now, there was a lull, and then you had what became known as the Fenians. Now, all of these things were happening almost simultaneously in Ireland and in America. America had become now, in that part, very important to the Irish struggle because, well, you know, it was sort of where we had escaped to. In many ways, the Jews did the same thing. They kind of escaped in many ways to America. Thank goodness for America. So you had two organizations, the IRB, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which was an extreme organization in the sense that they didn't have any doubts about what kind of a constitution